In 2024, the Nobel Prize in Literature went to a South Korean author for the very first time. That author is Kang. While she has written multiple acclaimed books, her international breakthrough came with a novel called The Vegetarian. The premise of the book is startling. A woman named Young-hae decides to stop eating meat, but she doesn't stop there. As the story progresses, she develops an intense desire to physically transform into a plant, completely shedding her human form. Young-hae's metamorphosis is a radical rejection of her species. She refuses to eat meat because she sees human existence as inherently violent, and the only way to escape that violence is to stop being human entirely. What kind of world creates a desire so extreme that turning into a mindless vegetable feels like the only safe escape? In the novel, Young-hae endures relentless domestic cruelty. Her husband and family subject her to severe control and physical abuse to enforce strict patriarchal norms. But this intimate, family-level abuse mirrors a much larger, systemic brutality. Kang's portrayal of human viciousness draws directly from a historical reality she witnessed growing up. To comprehend why a fictional character would choose to abandon her own species, we have to look away from the novel and examine a brutally suppressed chapter of history from 1980's South Korea. In May 1980, South Korea was controlled by a new military junta led by Army General Chun Doo-won, who enforced martial law and shut down universities. Citizens in the southern city of Gwangju resisted. Students and locals began taking to the streets in massive numbers, forming a vibrant democratic uprising to demand liberty from military control. The regime dispatched armed paratroopers to crush the demonstrations. Soldiers fired directly into crowds of unarmed civilians, beating and killing hundreds in the streets. When the shooting stopped, the state offered no aid. Instead, ordinary citizens were left to comb through the wreckage, gathering and preparing the mutilated bodies of their friends and neighbors for burial. The state-sponsored slaughter in Gwangju created a collective cultural wound. The scale of the trauma was so immense and the censorship so heavy that traditional history books struggled to capture the true horror of what the survivors endured. Decades later, Kang directly confronted this atrocity in her novel Human Acts, centering the story entirely around the Gwangju massacre. Extreme trauma does not process linearly. It fragments the human mind. To reflect this, Kang writes what is known as a trauma narrative. Picture a straightforward timeline of 1980. Kang shatters that timeline into non-linear pieces. The reader jumps rapidly between jarring perspectives, experiencing the aftermath through the eyes of a murdered boy, a grieving mother, and a lingering spirit searching for its body. Through these perspectives, Kang uses a highly sensory, electric writing style. By detailing the exact physical pain of the victims, the feel of a bayonet, the weight of a coffin, she bypasses the reader's intellectual defenses and forces an emotional reaction. Shattering the traditional structure of a novel is the only effective way she found to document the reality of a shattered human psyche. Exporting this deeply ingrained, culturally specific pain to a global audience presents a massive logistical challenge. This task fell to Deborah Smith, a translator who took on the monumental job of bringing The Vegetarian into English. Her work sparked intense debate among bilingual readers over accuracy and missing context. Kang defended the translation, noting that translating deeply layered cultural context is a dark tunnel of loss, where the goal is to find emotional equivalents rather than perfect literal matches. Despite the linguistic controversies, the English edition resonated worldwide. The visceral suffering embedded in Kang's sensory language translates effectively because pain transcends literal vocabulary. South Korea is still actively grappling with unresolved collective trauma and the lingering effects of institutional silencing today. The governmental negligence and disregard for human life seen during the 1980 military coup echoes in modern national tragedies like the 2014 Sewol ferry disaster, where over 300 people died due to severe regulatory failures and botched rescue efforts. For Hong Kong and her readers, History is not safely contained in the past. It is an active, ongoing struggle against a society that frequently demands quiet amnesia. These stories function as a form of human rights documentation, using the visceral tools of fiction to record the impact of state violence on the individual. Young Hei's desire to become a plant in The Vegetarian no longer feels like an absurd fantasy. When faced with a world that permits mass atrocities, rejecting human form entirely becomes a rational, heartbreaking response. This tension poses the driving question that pushed Kang from The Vegetarian to writing Human Acts. How do we come to terms with human life, which is so beautiful and so violent at the same time? While Kang's characters may desperately seek an escape from humanity, her novels do the exact opposite. They forcefully anchor us in place, demanding that we remember the unspeakable and bravely face what we are.